Federal officials are warning that foreign terrorist organizations might target LGBTQ plus events.
If they said, I'm not wearing a mask, there was nothing I could really do about it. It was really all voluntary.
Amidst all the controversy that has come from this video that I posted,
the FBI warns that terrorists may be targeting upcoming Pride Month events. The disgraced former New York governor Andrew Cuomo reemerges to gaslight America, and a teacher sparks a viral debate with a TikTok showing students doing his hair. All that and so much more is coming up on today's episode of Brad vs. Everyone, my daily series where I take on the craziest ideas from our politics and from across the internet from a center-right, independent perspective. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing and sticking around. And if you're a returning viewer, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment with your thoughts. I do read the comments and I pick a few to respond to in every episode. Now, before we get into all our heavy subject matter for today, I want to show y'all a video of an influencer, Speed is his name apparently, messing with a dog and getting exactly what he deserves.
Oh my god, just hit me. Oh!
I guess karma still does exist. I can't be the only one who has literally zero sympathy for this guy whatsoever. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You barked at a dog aggressively, scaring the dog, then went up to it and stuck your face right into its face. And you got bit. Shocking, babe. If it isn't the consequences of your own actions. I'm getting so sick of these streamers just acting like a menace to society online for constant views and clouts. Like, it's getting out of control. And if a little dog bite is what's needed to teach people like this a lesson, I'm all for it. After all, he wasn't seriously hurt. He wasn't scarred or wounded or disfigured. It was just a little nip. And you know what? I enjoyed watching it. And I don't feel bad about that. Now, for our first serious topic, we've got to talk about the fact that the FBI and the federal government are warning that upcoming Pride Month celebrations and events this June could be targeted by foreign terrorist groups. Here's some quick news coverage.
Federal officials are warning that foreign terrorist organizations might target LGBTQ plus events and venues. Now, this alert comes as celebrations and gatherings for June's Pride Month approach. The FBI, Department of Homeland Security, highlighted June 12th specifically. That's the day a mass shooter targeted the Pulse nightclub in Orlando 8 years ago. 49 people were killed in that attack. 53 others were injured.
We've got more reporting here from The Guardian. They report that the FBI's release, dated May 10, does not mention any specific threats or intelligence suggesting that any event, celebration, or individual has been targeted, but it said foreign terrorist organizations' efforts to commit or inspire violence against holiday celebrations, including Pride celebrations or LGBTQIA+ related venues, are compounded by the current heightened threat environment in the United States and other Western countries. The release also noted that foreign terrorist organizations and their supporters have previously promoted anti-LGBTQIA+ rhetoric and targeted LGBTQIA+ related events or venues for attacks. The story notes that in June of last year, 3 alleged sympathizers of the Islamic State extremist group were arrested in Vienna for attempting to attack a Pride event there. So this is, of course, pretty alarming news. But I do want to caution people not to be too scared. Like the story noted, there isn't actually specific intelligence being cited here of a looming threat of an attack. It's more of a general warning to take precautions. And we have seen these kinds of warnings made in the past by the federal government, and oftentimes the most likely outcome is that there usually aren't any attacks or any plots do get thwarted well before ever becoming reality. But there is a threat of danger, and they are warning about something real. This made me reflect further on the fact that at so many LGBT Pride events, essentially attendees are left sitting ducks, because both the organizers of the events with their own rules and restrictions and regulations and the exhaustive and heavily restrictive policies of the localities and cities where they take place often make it extremely difficult or outright impossible and illegal for Pride event attendees to exercise their right to bear arms and to carry a firearm to defend themselves if, God forbid, something terrible were to happen. I get that they have this naive idea that they can make these ceremonies a gun-free zone and it will all just be kumbaya and vibes or whatever, but that's not going to stop a terrorist who wants to attack it. They're not going to see the no guns allowed sign and say, oops, guess I gotta go home. And self-defense is a fundamental human right, enshrined in our Constitution by the Second Amendment. And it applies just as much to gay people and their rights as it does to every other American and every other human being. So even if there weren't this warning, I think that LGBT people should be allowed to defend themselves if they so choose by carrying firearms at Pride events. But especially with this warning, it appears all the more indefensible to me that we would actually be depriving people of their rights and transforming them into sitting ducks. I'm hoping and praying that nothing does go wrong, but if it does, there will be serious questions to answer. I also question the fact that some Pride events ban cops. Yes, even gay officers or groups for LGBT law enforcement, because they conflate LGBT Pride with their far-left anti-police political agenda. And look, I have my criticisms of law enforcement, and I support different kinds of criminal justice reform, but I would feel more comfortable with some gay cops around in case, God forbid, something terrible does happen. But that's just my take on this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And please don't let these threats or these warnings stop you from participating if you so do choose, because the odds of you actually being in danger are minuscule. And if we stop living our lives and doing the things we would otherwise want to do because of threats or fear, then the terrorists win. Up next, we've got to talk about the disgraced former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, because he is back at it, back on his bullshit, gaslighting the American people, and saying some truly insane things in a recent interview. Now, for background context, remember that Cuomo was initially heralded as the star governor for his excellent handling of the pandemic in New York. There was even this cringe thing where many mainstream media, journalists, and liberals called themselves Cuomo-sexuals and openly thirsted for this man. But his administration fell into disgrace over various scandals, but including one where he instituted a controversial policy forcing nursing homes to accept COVID-positive patients, endangering the elderly populations who were most at risk from the virus by inserting somebody confirmed to have the virus into the population. And then the bigger scandal was an entire cover-up effort where his administration tried to lie and falsify and obfuscate the data to make it look as though the consequences of this policy weren't as bad as they actually were. From these scandals to the ineffectiveness of many of New York's draconian COVID measures, all of it has aged like milk. But Cuomo is back in the public eye, and he is telling a very different story. Take a listen.
I believe if government were to now say, we just made a finding that there's a new virus and everyone should do X, Y, and Z, the amount of compliance with X, Y, and Z would be much, much lower than it was at the beginning of COVID, because people do not trust the government, especially on this issue, the way they did at the beginning. And that would be a complicating factor, right? When you have people who just don't listen, because government had no capacity to enforce any of this. You must wear a mask. And people wore masks in New York. But if they said, I'm not wearing a mask, there was nothing I could do about it. You must close your private business. I won't. Well, there was nothing I could really do about it. It was really all voluntary, and it was extraordinary when you think about it, that society acted with that uniformity voluntarily, because I had no enforcement capacity. So you have a reduced trust in government.
You hear that, guys? It was all voluntary. All the COVID stuff in New York. Bullshit. I don't know about you guys, but I went to New York City multiple times during all of this, and I can tell you, it wasn't voluntary. You don't just have to take my word for it. We got reporting here from the New York Times in May of 2020 showing that police arrested 40 people for social distancing violations from March 17th, 2020 through March 4th, 2020 in just one borough of the city. Other reporting from October 2020 in the New York Times shows that over $150,000 in fines were issued on the first weekend of a renewed lockdown. The Times writes, authorities cracked down this weekend on some of the city's coronavirus hotspots, issuing more than 60 summonses and tens of thousands of dollars in fines to people, businesses, and houses of worship that did not follow newly imposed restrictions on gatherings or mask wearing and social distancing requirements. This included at least 5 houses of worship that were given summons which could result in up to $15,000 fines. And again, that was just from one weekend. So when so many people were arrested and so many businesses and houses of worship were given fines, saying that that was voluntary is insane gaslighting and downright insulting to our intelligence. You can try to defend your policies on the merits. Good luck with that one. But don't gaslight us, babe. But it's not shocking that Andrew Cuomo is trying to spin a different story and an alternative history about what happened during the pandemic, because what actually happened, frankly, was really up, and he pretty much got away with it. Like I mentioned, Cuomo forced nursing homes through executive order to accept patients positive with COVID, even though nursing homes were a specific population of elderly people at very high risk from the virus. Now, he did this because there was a shortage of space in hospitals, which was a real issue. This was a terrible and nonsensical solution. What makes this much worse, though, than the similarly failed policies in other states that tried to do this with nursing homes, is the fact that New York's government, under Andrew Cuomo, tried to cover this up by obfuscating the numbers and the data. So much so that even a Democratic attorney general exposed and investigated them for it. We got reporting here from Stat News in February of 2021. Outrage over Cuomo's decisions, first to require nursing homes to accept COVID-19 positive patients when New York's hospitals were overflowing, and then to hide data about deaths of nursing home residents, has engulfed Albany in recent weeks. Court orders, leaks, and investigations revealed that Cuomo dramatically and intentionally understated the pandemic's toll on nursing home residents in New York. The Cuomo administration managed to keep much of that data under wraps until late January, when the dam broke. The Democratic state attorney general published a bombshell accusation that the administration undercounted nursing home deaths by more than 50%. Data obtained by the Associated Press showed more than 9,000 recovering COVID-19 patients were transferred from nursing homes to hospitals, which was 40% higher than the previously disclosed number. Then, earlier this month, the New York Post published an explosive report based on leaked footage of one of Cuomo's top aides claiming the administration hid data on nursing home deaths to avoid political retribution from Trump. So guys, with Andrew Cuomo, we have a governor who enacted a failed and idiotic policy that likely got people unnecessarily killed by the coronavirus, and then was exposed for a massive cover-up attempt. I think he belongs in jail, frankly, not doing podcast interviews, gaslighting the American people. But that's just me. That's just my take, I guess. Let me know what you think in the comments below, especially if you're a New Yorker. I want to hear from you the most. Up next, it's time for DELULU Epidemic, my segment where I spotlight people who are letting their stupid show. Today, this man is getting absolutely clowned on for this wild tweet. Something a lot of men don't like to admit. All of your hobbies and ambitions are to attract women. Nature doesn't care how much personal fulfillment you get from them. Those things are cool, but they're a coincidental, positive externality to the prime objective, to keep the species going. So these kinds of men influencers always do tend to forget that gay people exist, but we'll just set that aside because that's not really the point. But our hobbies aren't to attract women. I can guarantee you that. Even just focusing on straight men, this makes no sense. Do you think women are really attracted to people who like football and obsess over the NFL? Do you think that really gets their juices going? What about fishing? I know a lot of straight men like fishing and are really into it. Do you think getting those slimy things on the hooks or pulling some worms out of your tackle box is attracting women? I got some bad news for you, babe. And obviously, the innate drive to reproduce is like a real thing, and it is a part of life, but I do find it strange how these people online in this gender discourse seem to act like that's the only thing in life that matters, or like that's really what people spend all their time thinking about. I don't really think that's true or accurate. Regardless, it's fine for men to have hobbies, and no, they don't primarily serve to attract women, or they would be very different hobbies than the ones men typically end up doing. So, Ed, your DELULU is showing. Up next, it's time for Brad versus TikTok, where I take on the craziest ideas going viral on the clock app.
Pronoun of the day is slugs.
Don't forget to hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. And now let's take a look at this, because this teacher has possibly been fired and definitely been suspended after posting this viral TikTok showing his students doing his hair.
Let's go ahead and stir the pot a little, shall we? Last Friday, 10 minutes before dismissal time, I decided to live stream my students helping me take my hair out. There was quite the discourse in the chat, which had people saying this was inappropriate and other people saying this was completely fine. There was nothing wrong with what I was doing, and people were just making it weird. So of course I had to bring this issue to the big stage. I would like to represent myself in this case, Your Honor, if I may. Number one, for a little context, I had a hair appointment immediately after school, and I needed my hair taken out beforehand. I would have taken it out the night before, but that Friday we had a camera crew coming in to shoot a promotional video, and I was one of the ones being interviewed. So I had to look presentable, so I didn't take my hair out. I didn't have the time to do it all myself because it would have taken me forever. So naturally I asked about 4 or 5 of my over 100 best friends to assist me in taking my hair out, and they all agreed. Number two, this was at the end of class. This week we were doing STEM fair presentations. Since it was Friday and all of my students did an excellent job on their STEM fair projects and presentations, I told them if we get one solid presentation in this class, I'll end class a little early and they can have fun and play basketball, darts, or be on their phones or whatever. And during that time, my team would help me take my hair out. A couple of these were students from my class, but others were students from other classes. I wrote all of them a pass at the beginning of the class period, requesting their assistance 10 minutes before dismissal. I told the teachers only send them if all of their work was completed and they had good behavior. They all met the criteria, so 10 minutes before dismissal, they showed up for their job. My next point I'd like to make is, if I was a female teacher, those people wouldn't be in the comments saying, oh, this is weird, this is inappropriate. Because me personally, I don't think there's anything weird about this. People are saying, oh, that's too intimate. To me, it's literally just hair. It doesn't have to be weird. Some people have never had cool teachers, and it shows. I personally believe that building authentic relationships with students is paramount in being an effective teacher. I make sure my students know and can feel that I care about them beyond the schoolwork and all the stuff that I have to make them do. I take the time to get to know my students outside of academics, because caring for the whole child is what's important. Some of these students have been with me since I was a substitute 4 years ago. They see me as a big brother or a father figure, as some of them say. And me, I don't want kids of my own, so all of these kids are literally my children. And in case you're wondering about their parents, most of them follow me on social media and always talk about my videos with their kids. They always tell me that they're so grateful that their kids have someone like me in their life. In my admin, they're well aware of my social media presence and they love my videos. To me, this is just another wholesome moment that I'm having with my kids that I was fortunate enough to catch on film.
Okay, so I have extremely mixed feelings on this one. The comments were super divided, with some people thinking this was really inappropriate, and honestly, some people even essentially calling him a groomer. And then other people saying, no, it's harmless. He's just connecting with them. There's nothing here. He seems like a great teacher. And I can kind of understand both perspectives. On one hand, he does seem from his content and from his videos like honestly a good guy with good intentions and like a teacher who's making a difference, and I don't think he meant anything malicious by this. But on the other hand, I do agree that it's not appropriate, and it's especially not appropriate to post it online. He's showing kids' faces on the internet to millions of people, and that's not okay. I highly doubt that he has a release form signed by the parents of every student in these videos. And without that, it is totally unacceptable to post somebody's kids on the internet. Trust me, if you knew how creepy people were on the internet, especially towards girls this age, you would agree. I don't think he meant any harm, but I also think he did, like he said, mean to stir up the pot and cause a controversy. And you can't really take that approach and then complain that people are upset about it. Well, that's kind of just you getting the attention that you ordered. I don't think there's any reason to believe that he's harming these students. And I don't want to see him fired over something like this, but if I was in charge of that school, or if I was one of those parents, I would be demanding that he be told to stop doing this and not do something like it again. However, since this video has gone mega viral, receiving tens and tens of millions of views, there is an update and it got emotional.
Amidst all the controversy that has come from this video that I posted, I wanted to come on here and read some of the messages that my students are sending me during some of the messages that they've been sending me. During this time. Hey bestie, I really hope that you see this message. How are you? I hope that you're okay. Our class misses you so much, and we really want you to know that we love you and we miss you so much and can't wait for you to come back. I can't believe that taking somebody's hair out is such a big deal, and it makes me so mad that people make little things big things. I want you to know that the class and others got your back, and we will always stand behind you and up for you no matter what happens. We got you. Again, we miss you and we love you so much, and can't wait for you to come back. I wish that this never happened because it feels like we're losing you. Come back soon. Don't be gone too long, because if you're not back by Monday, I know something's up. But anyways, I also made sure that the classroom was clean before we left. Love you, missed you. Love you, miss you, see you later. Hi, Mr. White. We've been seeing all this stuff going on, and so has your other former students, and I just want you to know that we're standing with you. I'm literally in my junior year of high school right now, and seeing all this, you were my and many others' favorite teacher. Many of your students and former students are doing our best to advocate for you. You're one of the few teachers that made me really feel like I had a voice and opinion. And not only that, you made learning fun and encouraging. At the end of the day, some people won't understand that some adults genuinely have a good heart. Have a good heart when it comes to dealing with children, and that's probably never going to change. But we know parents, staff, etc. None that there knows that there has never been anything weird going on, and that there was never any insinuation of that. The people that actually matter knows where your heart is, and that's all that matters. During COVID, you quite literally helped me through my 8th grade year by just being an adult I knew I could go to if I was having any problems. Continue being you, and don't let anyone change that. for the GOAT. What's up, Mr. White? I know that your situation may not be looking the best, but just know that you'll get through it, and we all know your real intentions.
So, this follow-up video didn't help. I understand the emotions he's feeling, but I don't think it was a good idea to post this on the internet, and he seems to have a real problem with oversharing. That said, it is apparent that he's made a difference in a lot of kids' lives and that he's really valued as a teacher, and there are no allegations of him actually engaging in any wrongdoing or inappropriate conduct. So, I don't want him fired. He seems to not be in the classroom now. There are some reports that he's been fired, but I haven't been able to verify that. But he's definitely at least suspended or not currently teaching. I don't want to see him fired over this, but I think this school clearly needs to institute a very clear and much stricter social media policy. Because if they'd done that, this whole mess could have been avoided from the get-go. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I am curious for your thoughts, and we'll leave it there for now. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, I'll read a couple of the comments that you guys left on the last video. One person said, when someone says, "Hello gays," I cringe. Leave it to the allies to be not so much of an ally. Yeah, the start of that clip where Jennifer Lawrence goes, "Hi gays," I physically cringed the first time I saw it. Another person writes, as an Italian who now lives in Australia, I find it laughable how people idolize living in Italy or Europe in general. They would not last a month dealing with the bureaucracy, high taxes, and low income. Yeah, there is this real problem on social media of how the grass is always greener on the other side. In this case, on the other side of the world. Another person writes, spot on. You have a great moral code as well as common sense and up-to-date research. Thanks for being a voice of sanity in a chaotic world of non-truth screamed louder, making it somehow right. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And I am trying to bring kind of calm analysis of things to a increasingly unhinged debate on many different issues. Another person writes, wow, I subscribed to your channel some time ago and only watched a bit here or there because of time. So I'm going through this one and I have to say I love your videos even more. I like it that you have several topics you discuss, you use a variety of sources to illustrate your opinions, and we get to hear you speak much more. You give us, what it seems to me is that you give us you, and you're a great guy from what I've seen. I love the way you've grown into your role in this channel. Thank you so much. Honestly, that means the world. Yeah, since I first started posting on YouTube, this channel looks very different, and my content has evolved in many different ways, but some of you are OGs, and I appreciate that. Another person says, bravo on the dramatic readings. Listening to your renditions of woke folks each day is one of my favorite things. I'm really glad to hear that. I hope it can brighten your day a little bit. Honestly, that's part of what I'm doing, or what I'm trying to do at least, is just provide some entertainment as well. Like a little smile, a chuckle, or something that can make a person's day a little bit better out there, in addition to hopefully leaving them a little bit more informed or offering an interesting perspective on some things as well. Another person comments, if you said hit that like button one more time, I think my head would explode. But I love your channel, so I hope that others hit the like button like I did. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Hit that like button. No, I'm just kidding. I did realize I've been saying that too much, so I will try to tone it down. But if you all hit the like button more often, I wouldn't have to say it so much either, too. So all right, everybody, that is it for today's episode of Brad versus Everyone. Let me know what you thought of today's episodes in the comments, and also let me know what you think of the new graphics and videos and intros that I have for this series. Please do consider subscribing, hitting the like button, yada yada yada, and we'll talk again tomorrow.